Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Random Redshirt podcast. I am one of the hosts, Zach, and the other host is Chris. What's up, buddy?
Hello, everyone. Awesome to be here again, Zach, my dear friend. It's so great. Hope you have been well. Ken, it is wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have a marvelous adventure on this
I see what you did there.
yeah, on this
Nice,
Thanks
fun,
for
episode
the
here.
Chris.
invite, Zach and
hmm
Chris. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. Yes, we want to welcome Ken Purdie to the show. Ken is, I guess you're my cousin-in-law. Is that will be the correct title? I don't know, whatever
Yeah, I
that
think
is.
that's what it would be. Your wife Jennifer is my cousin.
Yeah.
Um, my mother and her mother are sisters. So,
Yeah. So
yep.
something like that.
Yeah.
Cousin-in-law from another mother or something. I don't know. Whatever the
Yep.
title is, it's awesome to have you. I know we have been chatting for many years about all things geeky, including Star Trek, which
Yep.
is great. So we appreciate you coming on and joining us as a guest host for this episode. And we are, for those of you watching and listening to us all over the globe and the interwebs, we are on episode 4 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds entitled A Space Adventure Hour. And Chris, Strange New Worlds has continued to follow the pattern of very intense, very dramatic episode followed by a lighthearted, uh, different feel type of episode.
Yes, indeed. I would definitely call this lighthearted, and whimsical and just fun, a fun episode.
Especially because episode 3 of this season, the last episode, was literal Klingon and human zombies, which was
Yeah.
awesome. And we loved having Dan Liu on with us, the director of that episode, as well as a couple of other Strange New Worlds episodes and a ton of Walking Dead and a million other things. If you have not checked that episode out, please be sure to go check out Strange New Worlds episode 3 of this season because Dan brought us some incredible directorial insight, Chris.
That's absolutely he did. Did you eat any barbecue chicken over the last week?
Actually, no, I did not. I
Okay.
did not. And
Uh,
Ken, for you and for those listening and watching, Dan had mentioned that a trick they do when making zombie episodes, and he's got a lot of experience having done The Walking Dead and this Walking Dead spinoffs and now Strange New Worlds, is when they have zombies that are ripping flesh off of somebody on the ground, they're ripping barbecued chicken to give them something
Wow.
to latch onto. Um, a
yeah.
little insight into the way Hollywood does their zombie eating.
Like I think I told you, Zach, those zombies looked really well done. I mean, some of the better zombies that we've seen, even some of the stuff you've seen in The Walking Dead, I thought that the zombies looked really good in that episode.
Yeah, they were incredible, especially, we see the first, I believe he said, Chris, it's the first ever full Klingon skeleton we ever see in Star Trek, which was in
Yeah,
this
that's
episode, this last
correct.
episode. And we get that boot with the bone sticking out.
With the bone
That,
sticking out of it.
yeah, that was really nasty. And he mentioned that that was completely on the prop department, and they just did an incredible job. And I really think that those two things really added a ton to the feel and the vibe of that episode.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely did.
Yeah.
Super,
So yes, if you
super
haven't checked
episode.
it out, yeah, if you haven't checked it out, please go back and watch it. You will not be disappointed. Dan offers some incredible insight into the way in which they shot that episode, the schedule, the pacing, everything. It's incredible. It's really, really fantastic. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We're a couple of nerdy guys who like to talk about all things nerdy, Star Trek to Star Wars and everything in between. And you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, YouTube if you're listening to us on the audio side. And if you're on YouTube, hey, welcome.
Mhm.
We also have audio versions of this episode as well. But let's jump into this, guys. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 4, entitled A Space Adventure Hour. It was written by Dana Horgan and Catherine Lynn and directed by none other than Jonathan Frakes.
Absolutely none other than Jonathan Frakes, and that comes at the end of the episode that we realize that, right? I did
Yeah.
not realize that until the end. Did you have any inkling that it was Jonathan Frakes at the beginning?
No,
Uh,
I did
No,
not.
no. Okay, yeah.
I
I yeah, I only knew it was Jonathan because I saw a post on social media about him directing the episode. So
Oh, okay,
that's
okay,
the only reason I knew. But if I had not seen that, I would not have known.
yeah.
I don't remember if the poster that they showed at San Diego Comic-Con for that episode, I don't remember if it listed Jonathan Frakes as the director of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know. I remember you sent me, you were watching like the live Twitter feed from San
Yeah.
Diego Comic-Con about the announcements of for Strange New Worlds, and you'd sent me a picture of the poster, and you mentioned that this was going to be the next episode, which is the one we're going to talk about now.
Yep.
Um,
And it had that 50s slash vibe to it. And then of course in the background of the picture, you see the holodeck.
yeah. Yeah.
And we got into a discussion on that as well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I think I have a feeling we will be discussing that much further on this episode here, as well. Also, Ken, if you don't mind sharing, they made another teaser, a very teaser trailer of a future season 4 episode.
Oh yes. This is the one we were talking about, the puppet episode.
Yep.
Oh
And
my.
from what I've learned about it is all of the characters are made by the Jim Henson Creature Shop. So basically where the Muppets, Sesame Street, and that comes from, that's where the puppets were made for this episode. That's coming
Yeah.
in season 4.
Yes, as I told you, I have had trepidation with every one of the quote unquote risky episodes that they've made, whether it was the Elysian Kingdom one where they basically role played like Dungeons and Dragons, whether you had the Subspace Rhapsody, the musical, which I was really nervous about that, and then even this one I was a bit nervous about. Uh, but so far I feel like they've nailed pretty much all of the risky episodes. I mean, of all the ones that you felt were risky, Chris, you think that they kind of pulled them off in some respect?
Oh, all the previous ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think were pulled off, very well. With the Subspace Rhapsody being the most kind of the outlier, being the most like out there, right?
Yeah.
I think they pulled it off.
Yeah, I would agree. The Muppet thing has me worried. Well,
Hmm.
even the crossover with Lower Decks, I was a little concerned about. Like, okay, we're gonna bring cartoons into this. How's that gonna work? But it really, I mean, it was really a seamless integration between those two shows, which I thought was fantastically done.
Yeah.
So the Muppet one scares me though, Ken. I'm not gonna lie, that one really has me on edge.
And
So
see, I'm honestly not worried about that because my biggest concern, as I believe both of you just stated, Subspace Rhapsody, that that had me worried that Strange New Worlds had jumped the shark, as you would say. And I found myself liking that episode, and I found that the way that they incorporated everything, it worked really well. So that's why I am really not concerned about the puppet episode because, as we can all say, they've probably got 100% track record right now on all the episodes that they've taken that risk.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Well, time will tell, right? We'll
Yeah.
see how this lands because knowing the track record so far, Chris, I think we can pretty much surmise that the this puppet episode is going to be sandwiched probably in between two fairly intense dramatic episodes
Yeah, it will be. You know,
based on the pattern.
with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the episode Once More with Feeling became like one of the most, if you're familiar with that, one of the most popular episodes ever, and that's where they were singing. It was such a big risk for the Buffy show, but it is a beloved like episode in the Buffyverse. Yeah.
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 And I think the Subspace Rhapsody is fairly well liked
Hmm.
also. And I say that because I've seen a lot of people on the different Facebook groups that have made comments about the episode and that they have also had bought in posters and they even did like a vinyl record of the music from the episode that people went out
I
and went
remember
crazy
that.
for. Yeah, people went crazy for it though. They bought a ton of it and I think it's sold out. So that tells you that there is some significant amount of love for that particular episode. But
Very
okay.
nice.
All right, guys, let's jump into this. A space adventure hour. Let's rock and roll, Chris.
Yeah, we jump in at the very beginning of it, like Um, I mean, if you're just so if you've never seen an episode of Strange New Worlds, like you would have no idea what's happening, but you jump in at the beginning of it with this very retro looking science fiction bridge and with an alien encounter. and you've got I'm gonna forget the names of the characters in this one, but you've got Nurse Chapel in there, you've got Captain Kirk, like essentially, and then you've got oh,
You
Navigator.
got Ortegas in there as
Ortegas.
well.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank
She
you.
comes in a, a little bit into the first scene there, right?
Yeah,
The teaser scene before the opening credits.
yeah, as the
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, with the 70s afro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
who played the campy alien? That
I have no clue. No clue who played that.
that was very original where he's like holding his eye stalks with the hand as we brought up the puppet thing, and she's sitting there moving the eyes and obviously
Did
I mean, okay. So this opening scene where we're getting some weird 1950s, 1960s style sci-fi show. Of course, this is a complete satire of TOS, right? I mean,
oh,
the
absolutely.
the alien you mentioned, Ken, there's an and I don't remember the name of the alien and I don't remember the name of the episode, but there's like a green-headed alien that appears on the view screen in a TOS episode, and I'm pretty sure that is an homage to that character
Are
from
you talking
TOS.
the one that has the giant brain?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I know
And
which one
that's
you're
he's got a
talking.
green head, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
yeah. I mean, did it give you both strong feelings like as you watched this opening? I think it definitely would have generated a reaction. Like, so I'm curious, like how you guys reacted. And for me, this was even before I knew it was directed by Jonathan Frakes. I knew it was going to be a fun episode, but I'm curious, like how you guys
My
reacted to it.
my feeling was, what is this madness? Are they is it a show that they might have received that they played back in the 50s? I didn't know what was happening in this episode. You know what I mean? Because they really don't say that they're filming a television show in it. So I didn't know if that they were going off of this is an old thing that someone's watching to research as they have in the past where they've researched old TV shows to find out things. And I was like, well, is this what they're doing in this episode or not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My feelings were it came on and I'm like because I knew there was a holodeck element to this, right? My initial thought before my second thought was what the frick is this? Number one. Number two was well, maybe these three characters in Strange New Worlds are playing out some type of holodeck thing. But then I'm like, but they didn't have holodecks in TOS. So how are they going to explain the whole holodeck
Oh,
thing, which
oh.
we'll get into? Um, and then I laughed a little. I laughed actually quite a bit in this opening scene because of the campy alien, which I'm like, okay, everything going on, and Paul Wesley, who is Kirk in Strange New Worlds, is playing this one-off captain, and Nurse Chapel is playing some type of Spock related character, but yet her skirt is super, super short, like in the 60s TOS. So I very much had TOS vibes, huge, huge TOS vibes. Very like, okay, to me, this show, the opening scene was like what I think my wife thinks Star Trek is actually
Ah,
like.
yeah.
And she's never watched real Star Trek, not the JJ movies, those don't count, but like the real Star Trek to know what it's actually about.
Yeah.
If I showed her that opening scene, she'd go, "Oh, is this just another Star Trek episode?" Because she would have no idea,
Yeah.
none whatsoever. So
I
that's kind of what my thoughts were.
Yeah.
I
Nice.
definitely agree with that thought. If anyone going in uninitiated to TOS and saw this, they probably would have thought it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
What about
Good.
you, Chris? What were your opening thoughts?
Yeah. I had a little bit of sense when I saw the thumbnail that you created, and it looked like it was Leon in like an outfit,
Yeah,
and I thought, okay, maybe this is something to do with a holodeck. And so when that opening scene came on, I was like, oh well, perhaps this is in the holodeck and something's going on. Um, and so w- my my kind of detached viewpoint was like, yeah, it's fun, it's very lighthearted, this is kind of it's very it's it's making fun of itself um in a parody. But where I started to really kind of think through like, I don't know, even though I like it, I do like it, but I don't know if it was like how it fits in, because I
Mm.
felt when it really started going into not only a parody and a satire, but in a parody of like how William Shatner is as an actor,
Yeah.
how he acted as Kirk, right? So it started going
Yes.
like that started going like they're parodying that, or they're making a satire of that completely, and they really zoomed into that. And then I thought, then it's starting to get like too meta, too like self-aware, too like this is really taking me out of it right now, right? You are, as a show, you are totally making this meta and making it about yourself, which they do later on in the episode. And I go, okay, but how does that fit in? And I'm
Mm.
not sure. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking through that, like how I feel. How does it fit in? So not that it's nothing wrong with making this kind of episode, but for me, in order to fit in, for me, it would have been like it would have been something different. Other than being so meta on itself, it would have been something else, you know. So
So yeah, you felt a disconnection between the opening tease and then the rest of the episode then.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But that was that was my, and I still feel that way. That was my like sense of seeing it and going, hmm, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. It was definitely an interesting opening. Okay, and I want to get both your guys' thoughts on this. Uh and I'm not going to turn this into a let's just trash on Discovery episode because we've done that a few
I
times. I've done that a few times, anyways.
was
But
gonna say we'll be here for 3 days.
yeah, yeah, pretty much, right? But and I don't want to necessarily alienate any of our watchers or listeners who are legitimately are Discovery fans. That's great. That's fine. But one thing I like about Strange New Worlds is it feels to me like the show, while it can be very serious and have very intense moments, and the writing has been fantastic in this series. The character development I think has been really great for a series that's somewhat a new adventure every week, even though there's a serialization to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Like it in this episode, to me, it's kind of a way of poking fun at itself and kind of at the franchise as a whole in a lighthearted way without taking itself, maybe too over the top, although you could argue maybe it does. Whereas Discovery is a series that was like, we're serious Star Trek. We don't make jokes. We don't have fun on this show. We're very serious until we have a guy that plugs himself into a thing and then makes the ship disappear and reappear over some fantastical mycelial network garbage. It doesn't make any sense. But besides
Mushroom
that,
Network.
the mushroom, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. The mushroom trip, the acid trip network. But yes, I mean, it to me, it's a show that doesn't mind kind of sort of making fun of itself a little bit. And I want to get your thoughts on what you think of that.
You want me first or Chris?
Yeah,
Chris,
yeah,
go ahead. Let's start with Chris. Go ahead.
yeah. I I felt for the premise of this particular one, uh with the adventure. What was the name of the show?
The a space adventure hour.
The Space Adventure Hour.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought it
That's the
went.
name of the episode.
Oh, what was
What's
the
the name
name
of
of
the
the
episode?
show then?
Oh, Last
Oh, the
Frontier.
Last Frontier. The Last Frontier. Sorry, you're right. Yes,
Yeah,
the name
The
of the
Last
show,
Frontier.
the mini show is Last Frontier. That's right.
Yeah, The Last Frontier. You- I might shift how I feel about it in the future, but right now I feel like it was too far on the scale of you have a drama, and you kind of want to get a sense of what the characters are going to go through, and you've got some serious and lightheartedness, but now you've gone on the scale of, okay, everyone realize that this is you're taking yourself out of this reality that you've created, right? There- you enter these shows with this understanding that it is imaginary, but you're taking it as if this was real. But now it, it- the way they did it to me was just like, okay, it's all like imaginary, and it went too far for me on parodying the acting of TOS. because everyone's aware of that. Everyone's already aware of William Shatner's character and how he played Kirk. And yes, it's enjoyable to watch, but then to watch it here parroting like and satiring itself in Strange New Worlds in something called Last Frontier that is in a holodeck, just it took me out of the suspension of disbelief. Right. So I
Gotcha.
think the suspension of disbelief is an important thing, like in Star Trek, because you want to take that kind of seriously. But throughout this particular episode, particularly when they go in the holodeck and there's some discussion on the Last Frontier and what it's about, what the creator of the Last Frontier was trying to achieve, when they're talking to Leon, then the suspension of disbelief is like, okay, you're talking about yourself right now, like in the holodeck to Leon about the show Star Trek. And so that's where I feel like, how does it fit? And I'm still kind of sorting that out. So yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ken?
I would say that at the time, Discovery, like you said, it had, to my remembering, it didn't have any of those lighthearted episodes. It was always dark, 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 more dark. And I don't think it let up on people. And there are other issues with Discovery that we have both discussed at length. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Strange New Worlds learned from Discovery's mistake. I think that, yes, like you said, it seems like it's a sandwich. It's a serious episode. Then we go to a little bit more lighthearted episode. And then we go back to the serious episode, which is what I'm expecting coming up. We're going to have another serious episode. And the one thing that I can say about Strange New Worlds is we know the characters. We know that maybe certain characters are not going to survive this. And it's interesting to me to see, okay, how are they going to kill off this character? Because obviously they either get transferred off the Enterprise or something happens. And I think for the 3 seasons so far, for me, that's been the waiting for the other shoe to drop. What's going to happen to Pike that's ultimately going to make him, become what he does become in the pilot episode?
Right. Yeah, that's true. People have already said that Strange New Worlds has already diverged from canon, which in some instances it has. Uh, we kind of look at it like New Trek is its own timeline, and Legacy Trek, TOS or Enterprise is another timeline. I know, Chris, when we had Doug Drexler on, he said if you think about it in kind of like a multiverse in that regard, which multiverses are way overused today in the way they make shows and movies just to explain why things don't make sense. But in this case, I think you could make an argument that there is potentially two different timelines. Now, that being said, and I know we've discussed this before, Chris, that uh, I think it would be a huge misstep if, when they get to the end of this series in season five, however many episodes that's going to be, which I've heard it might only be 5 episodes, whether they're feature film length each one or whether they're the normal length, I don't. We Who knows yet. But by the time we get to the end of this series, I think it'll be a huge disservice if they don't link Strange New Worlds up with TOS in the similar way they did, where they so seamlessly linked Rogue One to Star Wars: A New Hope. It was so seamlessly integrated. It was absolutely incredible how they did that. And I'm hoping they do something kind of similar with that for TOS and linking it with the cage, right? We know the cage didn't come out in broadcast form until it was the 80s or whatever, but it was originally the first thing made. So they need to find a way to link that up with the cage or link that up with post Pike's command of Enterprise and then his accident or something, but we need it linked to TOS. Otherwise, this is just going to feel like a weird one-off show out here in left field.
Hmm. Yeah. Somehow link it to Talos. What's
Yeah,
going on Talos? Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
As the way a lot of Strange New Worlds has gone, I think they're going to go out on the cheap and say, well, this is another universe, another Star Trek universe that isn't necessarily connected to TOS.
Ah.
I hope not. I really do. I really do I really hope that it's not the case because Strange New Worlds has done a great job of paying respect and homage to TOS in many, many ways, right? I mean, they've had some differences, like Lon obviously wasn't a TOS character. Um, Ortegas wasn't a TOS character. Like there's new characters that are on this show that are not part of TOS, but yet they've brought in things like Dr. Corby, who, Chris and I don't know, I know you're not a big fan of. He kind of stole your girl there. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about someone who steals my girl in this episode. But yeah, I mean it's just one of those things where I think there needs to maybe needs the wrong word. I think there should be a linkage. Um, because I'd hate for this show to be as good as it's been, and then it ends, and you're like, okay, well, how did that further the franchise? How did that make things more unique and grow the franchise? It didn't. It's just this Star Trek show that they took characters we already kind of know and threw it over in the corner here. And now, how do I put this together in my brain? I can't because there's too many issues that are headbutting.
Yep, I agree. It sounds to me like I've discussed before is the ending of Quantum Leap, where you're expecting
Oh,
great things to happen, and the last thing you see is, oh, let's go out on the cheap. Sam Beckett never made it home with a one panel thing. And I really don't want that to happen to Strange New Worlds. But you got to admit, on everything that they've done so far that we've discussed, they've taken the cheap way out of it. They haven't really explained why it's this way. It's like, meh, because it does.
Hmm.
And they do it in this episode too.
yeah.
To what Ken and Uzak are thinking, like I go back to season one, the finale episode of season one of Strange New Worlds, where they've encountered the Romulan bird of prey. Now
Mm,
that wasn't like an alternate timeline, right? That was like Pike actually encountering the Romulan bird of prey and it playing out the way it played out. So Pike was in command of the Enterprise,
mm-hmm.
and then Kirk came in separately, kind of on the side,
Yep.
but the resolution of it was Pike's resolution. It wasn't Kirk's, not how Kirk resolved it in TOS.
Right.
And that kind of stayed constant in this in Strange New Worlds, in the timeline that's happening. So
Yep.
I'm wondering. So that changed things.
It did. And this is so shows are not immune to doing fan service, right?
Hmm.
I would argue that there this opening scene of this episode, A Space Adventure Hour, is basically fan service to, make fans laugh and like, see, ha ha ha, we're poking fun at TOS, right? Like that's to me, that's a fan service piece. Just similar to how the episode you're referring to, Chris, is a little bit of a fan service because it was almost side by side, shot for shot, parallel with
Yeah.
Balance of Terror,
Hmm.
right? Where Kirk encounters the Romulans. And at that point, they said, no, we don't even know what the Romulans look like. No one's ever seen one, right? Because if you go back and you read the Enterprise books, which are amazing, by the way, and that book series about the Romulan Earth Wars, that whole war, no Romulan and human ever see each other, like their faces. They
Hmm.
see ships and they get complex, but they don't ever actually see each other. And I believe in TOS's Balance of Terror, when the Romulan comes on the screen and Kirk sees it, and then you have I think it's almost like a quick close up to Spock, because Spock's like, well, they kind of look like us.
Hmm.
And then we find out that Romulans and Vulcans are distant cousins and all this stuff. So, but yeah, to get back to your point, Chris, I mean that to me was more of a fan service, but it does kind of there is conflict there in canon to say. So when Kirk meets them in Balance of Terror, it's not the first time he's seen them, so that kind of negates what he says.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, Zach, they could also use it as the multi-dimensional thing, going back to that, saying that a different choice was made. Therefore, this is broken off the canon timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like they do with a lot of explaining multiverse universes.
Yeah, and that to me is where Marvel has just gotten so convoluted because you're like, what freaking universe am I like? What am I watching? What did I have to pre-watch? But I mean, there's so much, and that's what's concerned me with new Trek, right? You know,
Yep.
which is basically well, I mean, I guess you could kind of yeah, you can consider Picard, the new Picard series, part of New Trek. But I mean, the first New Trek series to kick off was Discovery, right? That was the first series that came out after Enterprise, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So Discovery kicks off the new Trek era. If as people try to classify the different eras of Legacy Trek and New Trek, and so yeah, you get into some canonical, if that's the word, isn't it? It's canonical
Yep.
or canon type of issues, and that's kind of where like you mentioned this idea, Chris, of well that could break from canon. Uh, and then Ken, you mentioned, well, it could explain this little branch off of the timeline or whatever. Yeah, but to me, that goes back to, well, it's just this way because it is, right?
Yep.
It's the easy way out. Well, we'll just explain it like it's branched off because a different decision was made. Well, okay, that's the easy way to take out. Let's find a better way, in my opinion.
I agree with you, but they haven't done that so far. It's always been the easy way out. They
Well,
haven't.
the Gorn, I don't know. To me, the Gorn are not the easy way out. The Gorn, they've completely revamped the Gorn. They've completely changed them. I think for the better. They're very menacing. They're very scary. I know the guy in the rubber suit in TOS was super scary. I know that was a hard. It's hard to beat that. I know, but they have become, I think, an amazing recurring villain in this series, the same way that the Zindi did in Enterprise, the same way that the Borg did in TNG, and the same way the Dominion did in DS9.
Again, I will disagree with you. Everything that they've done with the Gorn in Strange New World to me has screamed Borg 2.0. With the
Interesting.
storylines that they've done with oh let's put the Gorn to sleep and we'll see what happens. Oh, let's put the Borg to sleep and they'll stop attacking. It just seems to me like they're trying to make them the Borg 2.0 and
Mm.
I can't help that because it's like yep, the Borg did that. Yep, the Borg did that. Yep, the Borg did that. And to me it takes out from it a little bit.
Mm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I did remember you mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, I will agree to disagree on that. I mean, yes, so I do think you have a point there, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I think the Gorn have become an amazing villain in this show.
Oh,
Be
I'm not saying that either.
yeah, yeah. So I think you have a point. But for me, it does not take away what they're doing with the Gorn. They may be recycling a similar impact that the Borg had in TNG, and to some extent DS9 and Voyager, I guess a little bit too. But the Gorn are just they're just this overarching story arc, excuse me, in the show that provides this level of horror, this level of intense drama. I mean, gosh, Chris, all the times you've talked about Captain Batel and what's happened to her, you say Borg 2.0, Ken. I would also argue that they have taken a page out of Aliens, the Alien franchise, because the way the Borg hatch their bodies inside or their babies inside another alien species, and then they hatch everything. It just screams aliens and xenomorphs.
Oh, I totally agree. But again, it's also think back to the Borg baby incubate. It's kind
Mhm.
of the same thing. It's like, hey, we've injected you. Now you're going to become a Borg.
Oh, yeah, with the nanoprobes, yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Again, I'm not taking from the Gorn. I give you all that. It just, I wish they had gone more and been more creative with the Gorn. You know what I mean? When I first saw him, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a great storyline. It's going to be a great new villain. And we're doing Borg stuff.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
You, Yeah. Well, this episode, so yeah, it's interesting talking about a repeat of what has been done in the past, like on this, because in a way, this episode is, you get your time travel episodes and you get your holodeck episodes in Star Trek, and so this is a holodeck like episode in Star Trek. So it's a kind of it's a revisit of that a similar circumstance in that, right, where you have the problem on the holodeck that has to be resolved. So,
Yeah.
what did you both feel like about I like about it being a holodeck episode? Like your initial like reactions when you realized, okay, we're going on a holodeck adventure.
Ugh.
Go ahead, Ken. Go
Ugh.
ahead.
I thought that the way they did it was dumb
Mm.
because the episode, it's like, oh, the Enterprise now has a holodeck. And for 100 years after this, we seem to forget the Enterprise had a holodeck. It would have been better to me for them to say, hey, we got called to a starbase to try this new holodeck technology. It didn't work. So again, you can explain why. Now they're saying that there's an Enterprise, that there's a holodeck on the Enterprise. It didn't work, so it became a broom closet. That's my biggest thing. And I told Zach this, and it just seems like another cheap way to get out of what they're trying to do.
Ken, it became the rec room. That's where Spock and Kirk play 3D chess. And they get their replicators to eat their little different colored cubed clay food, you know?
Yeah, I just think I like holodeck things. I think they're good. I just did not like the way they did this.
Mm.
It's like, we'll just throw it on the Enterprise and then forget about it for.
Mhm.
And I'm sure that, all the technology people were looking at it, goes, where would they have put the holodeck on the Enterprise?
Mhm.
Yeah, true.
They got all the schematics of the Enterprise. I'm sure the technology people go, was it here? Was it here? Was it here?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. For me, Chris, Ken brought up some good points when we were chatting. Uh, I I don't mind a holodeck episode. I mean,
Mhm.
Star Trek is a franchise, I think, like many others, that tends to lean on what it already knows. So, for example, Ken, you mentioned Borg 2.0. Okay, well, they know how to do Borg episodes. So maybe they thought, let's fashion something similar, but let's use the Gorn in that regard. Maybe they didn't, and that's just how it came out, right?
Mhm.
We know the holodeck episodes are a big deal. They've been around in a lot of Trek series from TNG all the way through Voyager, and then Enterprise tried to dabble in it, but then it was a dumb episode where you had Trip getting nipples on his wrists, and he gets pregnant by
Mhm.
an alien girl because he sticks his hands in these magic rocks. I mean, you talk about like an acid trip episode, like that's a prime
Yep.
example of one, right? Uh,
Yep.
so Star Trek is, and I use Star Trek as like a noun and not a verb in this case, but like Star Trek is leaning in on itself to what it knows, what it's comfortable with. We know holodeck episodes. We've seen things in TNG like the Sherlock Holmes adventures with Geordi and Data. We've seen the Dixon Hill novel adventures with Picard and sometimes Guinan. We've seen like the Cupid episode, right, with the Robin Hood stuff and Q.
Oh,
Um,
I
I'm,
love that. I am not a married man.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's an amazing meme. That's just such a perfect meme. Um, Voyager had a number of holodeck stuff. I loved the Captain Proton stuff on Voyager. That holodeck adventure was amazing. Then you had the weird like Irish town where Janeway falls in love with the dude, but he's got these like weird. I don't know. That whole thing was bizarre.
Yeah.
So we have a historical reference for these types of episodes. And I'm sure that those episodes influenced significantly in the way in which they went about this. For example, what a shocker. They're on the holodeck, and La'an is doing this novel, or she asked the computer to take all the novels that she loved when she was a girl and make it into a story that really challenges her as an investigator, right? Because it's a
Mhm.
skill of hers.
Yep.
And to nobody's surprise, the holodeck safety protocols fail. Shocker.
Mhm.
And so now that adds another level of drama. Well, how many times do we have holodeck episodes and the safety protocols fail? Almost every single time.
Every
Like,
episode.
who is engineering these damn holodecks? Like, why do the safety protocols fail so easily? They're not really safety protocols if they fail so easily. So
Exactly.
That's my thoughts, Chris. I want to know yours.
Yeah, that's a great point. Great point. I feel similarly. I don't mind it being a holodeck episode, but I did feel a little bit odd going, okay, they want to put a holodeck episode in Strange New Worlds. How are they going to connect it? Like, why isn't it not at a starbase? Like Ken, that was like an excellent point. Like,
Yep.
why do they want it on the Enterprise? You know, they made a point of like, hey, they connect it to the 5-year mission kind of concept, right? Oh, we have this idea where starships can be out longer than 5 years because of the holodeck. So they connect it to they connect it to they connect it to TOS and the 5-year mission. So that that was okay. That was cute. Um, I I it one other part that really took me out of it when they were on the holodeck is when Spock goes, he says some remark as like, well, my ancestor, like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. He said it was some remark to that, like
Yep.
as my ancestor Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would have said. And so I paused the episode right there, right? Because we have so many fantastic holodeck episodes with TNG, right? With DS9, with Voyager, and TNG, it was so classic with Data, and Data, you're like having Sherlock Holmes as like his mentor and loving that. But when they said that, I was like, oh, okay. I paused it and I was like, they made reference to that, which is clever. It was a clever reference, and if you watch the episode, it's not that I didn't enjoy it, but I have to watch it as this separate kind of thing, right? Like how does it all fit in? Um,
Yeah.
because it's almost like they're parodying like holodecks in a little bit and making fun of all of these holodeck episodes that have happened in Star Trek, like as well. So those are some of my thoughts on the holodeck. Yeah,
Can
yeah.
can uh, I don't know if we're all going to agree on this, but I'm going to give you my opinion on this piece. I thought, Ken, don't you dare text this to your cousin. Um, I thought that Lon looked particularly good in this episode. I thought I thought she looked very good in this episode. Just gonna leave it at that.
You liked her in her 50s outfit or whatever that was.
I like her in any outfit. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I like her in any outfit. No, I thought so. In all seriousness, I thought that this was it was awesome to have an episode centered on my favorite character in the show.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I wrote down, um, I wrote it down today, but it was a thought that I had when I was watching the episode, was that we talked earlier about the character development, right, in this series and how good the character development I think overall has been. I really like that in season 3, and this episode adds to that so far, that we're really beginning to see a significant amount of growth in Lon right before our very eyes. You know, for the first 2 seasons, it was a lot about her connection to her past with her lineage to Khan and with the Gorn. And that was most of what it was. It was a lot of her distrust. She was very cold, very rigid, very all about, X, Y, and Z. And there wasn't that side to her, that other side to her that you saw to kind of make her more of a well-rounded character.
Hmm.
And over the course of these first 4 episodes of season 3, I think we've seen a lot of that. In episode number 2, where we have the episode we didn't necessarily care for too much, Chris, with the way Chapel treated Spock.
Right.
But we saw a different side to her. And you mentioned in that episode, Chris, about this almost kind of siblingness that was starting between Spock and La'an, especially because Spock had this deranged, mutinous sister of his in
Hmm.
Discovery, which we won't get into. But
No.
almost, yeah, no. But almost like La'an had become kind of a sister to him a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
helping him work through the challenges of what Nurse Chapel did to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Leon and Spock work great as siblings. Now that's not how this episode really that's not really the trajectory of this episode. I will say, like your thoughts on Leon. So she is beautiful in this episode, and
Yeah.
now they've highlighted her dancing skills, like as an individual, as an actor, as like a performer, right? Um, in like three different places, I think they highlighted her in episode Wedding Bells, her
Hmm.
ability to dance, and then twice in this episode, her ability to dance. And she's like it's just beautiful to watch this artistry and the athleticism of her dance, right? And so I think that is terrific. And just thinking to back to Jonathan Frakes is directing this episode. You know, he plays the trombone in TNG.
Mm.
They highlighted that, right? His ability, like he's got some like skills, and so they integrate that into the character. I think just keeping with that spirit is perfect that they do that for Leanne because she's got, as an actress, she's like very talented, like as a performer and a singer and a dancer. So they integrate that into Leon, and it makes it special because Leon is so, like you said, Leon's got such a she's got a traumatic past. She's but she's very disciplined and she's very, very rigid. And then that's how she is in the show. And you can kind of tease these kind of elements out of her character, like, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed. What do you think, Ken?
I think that Leon, like you said, one of the things I think that Star Trek does, again, you pointed out two great examples, is they take the actors and they take things that they know, like Riker playing the trombone and implementing that from Jonathan Frakes and things. And I think Star Trek does really well with that, saying, okay, what are your outside passions? And it allows them to show their outside passions. And you're actually seeing the actor, not necessarily the character. And I think that, like you said, with Leon, they're really doing that in these past few episodes.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, we could sit here and debate all day about which character has the best, development so far. I think Lon certainly is up at the top, or if not the top, towards the top of character development and the way in which we've seen it. Now, you can argue also Pike too, because we're seeing a side of Pike with Battelle and the love and the intense feelings that, of course, we didn't get because Pike was such a small minor character in TOS compared to what he is in Strange New Worlds. So it's very different. So, but I do overall I like the way that they're developing the characters, and to me, Lon is a perfect case study for that in this show.
I would say my favorite is Dr. Mbenga.
Mm,
Mm,
He has really been, especially you refer back last week to the zombie episode. I mean,
yeah,
how much of that came it back, with his past and his past with war and things like that. He didn't want to bring out the demon, or I forgot the
the
term he used,
monster, yeah, the
the
monster.
monster.
Yep.
Yep. And I think he's really gone through a lot of, and I really hope that he doesn't end up, dying. I hope they say at the end of the series, oh, he became a teacher at Starfleet Academy or something. That's one character that I would hate to see end up dead.
Well, Dr. Mbenga was
mm,
on TOS, right? The character was on TOS. He was on the Enterprise with Kirk, and he wasn't Dr. McCoy size character, but he did have appearances on TOS. So I that would be super shocking to me if they were to kill him off. Now, the one thing that concerns me the most is Lon is not a TOS character,
Yep.
and Lon wears a frickin' red shirt. So we must point that out, being that we are the random red shirts who so far have survived every episode. Uh, that really scares the ever living
That
crap out
that
of me.
makes you nervous.
It makes me very nervous. I hope, like you guys have said, that maybe that there's some way where she's just transferred off and goes off into Starfleet, or maybe she leaves Starfleet and goes off and lives her life somewhere else. It's not going to be with Spock because Spock doesn't marry her. He doesn't. So I don't, that's why I said my first note I wrote down, Chris, was Spock, stay away from my girl, because every girl that he's gotten around has ended poorly, at whether it was the calling off of his engagement to Pring, whether it was the Nurse Chapel thing, although the Nurse Chapel thing is on more on her, although
hmm
Spock was kind of glutton for punishment when she told him, Spock, don't do anything romantic, like wait for me. That's basically her way of saying I have no intentions of continuing this relationship and I may end up with somebody else soon,
hmm
kind of thing. I did go back, by the way, and watch. Was it Squire of Gothis? Is that the one where they
Yeah.
find? Yeah, I watched that, and
Yeah.
it was very interesting because Chapel's on the bridge, and her fiance is down on the planet, and they haven't seen each other, and he's like, "Oh, Christine, is that you?" You know, it just is very like awkward. Yeah, you guys haven't
Oh,
seen each other in how many years, and you're supposedly engaged, but you don't
yeah.
talk. And it was a very awkward first meeting there. But
What are little girls made of? That's the name of
oh,
that
sorry, yeah,
episode.
that's what a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
girl's name. No,
yeah,
Squire of Gothis is Traylon, right? That's the one
yeah.
where episode Traylon's in, which we talked about from episode 2, Wedding Bell Blues. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, got those confused. Trekkies, get off my case, okay? I've been up since 4 o'clock in the morning working, so I don't want to hear
Oh,
it.
Zach's tired, so it's
I'm
all good.
tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And oh, by the way, I am not the greatest person at recalling TOS episode names. I can do it with other series, but TOS I'm still working on. So,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
anyways,
Now, let me ask you guys, do you think that they've already plotted out, for example, La'an's fate, where they know when the series is coming to an end? Do you think when they started saying, okay, this is what's going to happen to the character, or do you think that they're doing it season by season?
I think with La'an, I think it's season by season. I don't think they've plotted it out, and I say that because if they had, I feel like La'an would be probably one dimensional, to be honest with you. I think the acting of Christina Chong and the way in which she has made herself a presence on the bridge and a presence in the episodes that she's in. And this is complete speculation, by the way. I have no insider
Yeah,
knowledge. Like, it's not like I've got Akiva Goldsmith and Alex Kirkman on my, you know, back in the day, the
on your
speed
phone.
dial, back when we had speed dials and all that stuff for those young kids who don't might not know what that is. Um, I I don't think they have her mapped out. I mean, I could be completely wrong. Honestly, I hope they don't because I'm really scared if they do, if they already have her mapped out. I
Well,
mean, I don't know what your
the only
thoughts are,
reason I
Chris,
bring
but
that up is because they're not going to kill Spock. They're not going to kill Scotty. They're not, and it just makes me wonder the other characters that they have in this show if they've kind of had a little bit of forethought, saying, "All right, this is where we want to go with the character. This is how we want the character to end." You
yeah.
know what I mean? Not necessarily knowing the roadmap, but having an outline, if you want to
Mm.
call it that.
Yeah, that's why I said it makes me nervous with her character. Not only because she's a brand new character. She's not TOS. Ortegas is not TOS. Um, but it scares the crap. I mean, she's wearing a red shirt. There's a reason why this happens. Now, we do know they kill off a fair amount of yellow or gold shirts in TNG because they become the security color, right? Not red.
Yep.
Uh, but it scares the snot out of me. Now, I'm really hoping that they do what I think would be the predictable move, and that would be where they don't kill off any main characters and they have some sort of ride off into the sunset story at the end.
Yeah, but that's not what Star Trek does.
Well, I mean, if it's anything like DS9, then I'm gonna crap myself because they killed off Jadzia. And not only did they kill off Jadzia, they killed her off in the stupidest way possible, which was just happened to be inside the Bajoran not monastery, like the Bajoran,
Yeah, temple or
a
whatever you
temple,
call
little
it.
religious area that they had on the station, and a possessed Gul Dukat comes in and shocks the shit out of her, and now all of a sudden she's dead.
Is that any
And
different than being killed by a puddle of tar?
well, yeah, Tasha's death was pretty awful too. I mean, that was pretty dumb.
But
Um,
in both of those examples, though, it was those the catalyst for those were more because of the career decisions that were from the actors. So they had to
Oh,
write,
yes,
right?
absolutely.
So they had to somehow write that and incorporate that like into the show because that was happening. Um, and yeah, I hope like for Christina Chong and Leon, the character of Leon, I mean, yeah, I hope that even though her arc may not all be like determined yet, I hope it is like a like a very growthful and like heroic like arc that she goes through the show, through the
oh,
series.
Okay, hear me out, guys. Hear me
Yeah.
out. So there's a lot of amazing writers who write the what I would call the expanded universe Star Trek books, right?
Mhm.
Star Wars had one of the best book series bar none, right? And I Chris, when I was down at or up at Fan Expo up in Denver, I got a chance to meet Timothy Zahn, whose Heir to the Empire trilogy should have been Disney's Star Wars trilogy, not the trash that we got, right? Uh,
Ugh.
because if they had done the Heir to the Empire trilogy, they would have been able to do Thrawn then and not throwing him in the Ahsoka series, and you would have had all of these things like that. That series, that trilogy would have been incredible, absolutely
Mhm.
incredible.
Yep.
But so there's a lot of amazing writers who do have written Star Trek books, and one of them is an author named Una McCormick, and she's amazing. She writes a lot of really good books. And for those of you who read the Star Trek books out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I would love to see La'an ride off into the sunset, maybe get promoted and go to a different starship or do something or whatever, right? And then in a book, they make her a captain. Because think about it. She has been given command experience as the person who Pike has turned to on the bridge to take over when he's
Yep.
not there as like the number one, right? When Una's not there and everything, and she's been given opportunity to command. She's able to lead, I think. We saw that on the Gorn ship in Hegemony Part 2, which was the season premiere. Uh, we know La'an can lead. And we're now starting to see what I would call a softer side of her, right? And this where we're developing the whole picture of the character and a more of a whole person concept. I think she could eventually make a great captain one day. And how like ironic would it be to have a descendant of Khan commanding a starship for the Federation? I'm
But
telling
as
you, it
as
could
you
be a
know that
great
Star
book.
Trek, as you know that Star Trek likes to do, it likes to get you invested into
Yeah.
characters and then crush your heart.
Don't say that, Ken. Don't say that. I know because Jadzia is still my favorite female character in all of Star Trek. I loved her character. When they killed her off, I literally cannot watch the season 6 finale of DS9 because I can't watch that
And see,
stupid way that they killed her.
I'm that way with Data. I saw that in the movie theaters, and tears were just running down my eyes as he says goodbye to Picard, and knowing what's coming, and it's like, oh man, even though they brought him back.
Yeah, yeah, sort of. Yeah, I don't know, Chris. I think yeah, I'm really nervous. I mean, the good thing for you, for the most part, for most of the series, Chapel's been your favorite character, right? So at least you know that her character appears in TOS. So most likely that's they're not going to kill her off. But with La'an, it really does. I have concerns. I have significant concerns.
Do you think she's got a target on her chest?
Well, she's wearing a red shirt, so yes. We are in the era of the red shirt deaths. So
Ha.
yes, I do.
Yeah. I think they're developing Leon to be like even more awesome. Like they're flushing her out like in a great way. So I think they're just developing her to be even a bigger part of it.
But are they developing her to, like Ken said, break people's hearts? That's what I'm concerned
Yeah.
about. Like they're gonna go full on Tasha and Jadzia on her, and it's gonna end poorly. Hopefully not. I mean,
Yeah,
the
I don't think
only
so.
thing I would ask is if they do that, that she goes out in a blaze of glory and has a good death and not a Kirk on Viridian 3 death or a Jeds or a Jadzia death or a Tasha death or a Data
I,
death or any of these other deaths.
I think if they're going to do that, she's going out in a blaze of glory.
I
I hope, again, I hope they learn from their past mistakes,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd hope so, right? You'd hope so. But okay, so kind of getting back to the overall plot of this episode, Chris. What did you guys think? And we'll start with you, Chris. What did you think overall of the actual quote unquote like the murder mystery? Like the whole episode aside, what did you think about the actual story and the mystery and the investigation and everything wrapped up in this like 1950s, 1960s like Hollywood style?
Yeah, that is a technique and that is a forum. I thought that was a great kind of technique to do. I love the the idea of like the whodunit, the murder mystery, the clue kind of idea. It's just a very a very intimate setting. They're in like this, they're in a mansion. It's investigating person by person by person, and the idea of them, it's the avatars, from the crew being those different characters like in the show. That was great as a setting. That makes it fun to me, like in having that clue kind of feeling, and you go avatar by avatar. So
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Did you guys okay, this part of the episode, right? Like the mystery part with the avatars, as you said,
Hmm.
which I think is a great analogy. This very much, yes, I'm bringing up DS9. This very much
Hmm.
had a Dr. Bashir, I presume, episode
Hmm.
feel where all of
Yeah.
the characters take on the form of the main characters, even though the way in which they explain that in the episode is kind of wonky with the whole, well, the pattern buffers their patterns had to be stored in the holodeck because apparently that has enough room to hold them, but the transporter buffers don't. So we don't know where they went transferred to, but somehow they got to the holodeck and then they appeared in that part I didn't like about the episode. But it very much had that Dr. Bashir, I presume, feel to it
Yeah.
in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it felt more like a Dixon Hill episode
Hmm.
where the characters all kind of overacted a little bit, like they did in the Dixon Hill episodes where you had the mobsters and they're there, here, look at me, say. And
Hmm.
and to me, it kind of felt like again, it was maybe a little bit of an homage to that because it felt to all the player characters in that episode were overacting. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yes. And I
And
think I think part of that plays to the fact that the holodeck characters in this episode are playing characters themselves,
Hmm.
right? And they're supposed to be actors, and so that's kind of I think it kind of fits into the role that they play, right? Like the holodeck characters are playing another role.
Hmm.
yep,
I like Leon's, she does like kind of like a log, an audio personal log during her investigation. And she starts doing that. I like that a lot. That kind of narration that she does. I like that style, that technique. Leon's accent when she starts playing the character of Amelia, did it, I mean, it sounded like to me that the accent changed. And so I wanted to get, is that how you heard it as well?
A little bit. I think there was a little
Yeah.
twist to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think at times they showed that it was a different accent.
Hmm.
It almost, like you said, she had the accent she has now, the English accent, but when she was talking as Amelia, it sounded almost, you know, a reverse Picard, I would almost call it, where she spoke perfect English. She did all that. But yet when she was talking as Leon, she had that English accent.
Mm. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah. So, okay, we have the murder mystery. I I'm glad you mentioned Clue because I also felt
Mm.
exactly like that, Chris, when they were going through this and she was going to each different person. And I was like, it's Colonel Mustard in the library with the wrench. It's kind of
Yeah.
how I felt. Now, do you guys both like the late 1980s Clue movie with Tim Curry? Because that
Oh,
movie's
I love that
incredible.
movie.
I
Yeah.
absolutely love that movie. The fact that they made three different endings to it is
Yep.
amazing. I mean, and three completely different endings, all which pick up at the exact same moment. To me, the movie Clue is a perfect whodunit mystery movie
Hmm.
that should be the case study anytime you want to make something like that. Um, so I'm glad you mentioned the Clue because
Yeah.
that fit perfectly, Chris. But what were your guys' thoughts about the twist at the end? Because it also, like Clue, had a twist at the end that it actually was indeed the butler, right? At the end. Sorry for spoilers for those of you who haven't seen the movie Clue. There are three different endings,
Spoilers.
but the one theatrical ending that's technically the true ending is the butler. But what were your guys' thoughts on the twist and the fact that the murderer wasn't who maybe we might have thought, and also wasn't exactly who he was, if that makes sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Go
Yeah, go
ahead,
ahead,
Chris.
Ken. Yeah. Oh, oh, the twist. I I enjoyed it. So wh when we realized uh that it was Spock, and then she kind of internalizes and goes, "Oh yeah, he was in the holodeck at the very beginning." Then then it kind of connected the dots everywhere, and she goes, "And he was cold." And so I thought he was a great one to do because she is developing, so Leon is developing feelings for Spock. I can say that, right? So, and yeah, Zach, you hang your head. So she's developing feelings for Spock through this episode. So having him in as her partner to solve the mystery, like she's like really happy he's there, right? To that he's gonna help her out. Um, and I thought that added to it a lot. So at the twist, and she realizes, oh, like my partner's actually the one that is the murderer.
Committed the
And then,
murder.
yeah.
Almost Professor Moriarty-esque, if
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's even a
Yeah.
word,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Professor Moriarty is a verb in this case, but yes. Yeah. No, that's a good point. Well, I mean, Ken, did you like the twist on that? The way that they brought Spock in and then the fact that it wasn't actually Spock?
I did because throughout the episode I couldn't tell if they were the actual the characters, because he said basically run this thing to its limit. So I couldn't tell if she actually brought the people in to play their parts or they were the holodeck images, you know what I mean? I couldn't tell if it was the real. So I didn't know if it was the real Spock or not. And I really liked that aspect of it.
Yeah. I agree as well. Okay, I got to ask this question because it popped in my mind and it was something that I had in my mind when I was watching the episode. And that is, where the hell is Pelia? She has been MIA for what, two or three of the four episodes now. Maybe it's because Carol Kane's not been available. She's been filming other
Yeah.
things, but like in this episode, they something about I think they asked for Pelia and Scotty comes instead, and they're like, oh, she got, or maybe it was the last episode where she got hung up and maybe it was the last episode. She got hung up and she couldn't come.
Yeah. And this one
I'm
they
like,
say
where's
she's on
yeah.
shore leave, apparently,
Oh
on
yeah,
this
so
episode.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like where is she? Like why I mean, like I said, maybe it's Carol Kane's been filming something else and she's just not available, but I'm like the chief engineer is just not around anymore. I guess is this their way of like basically kicking her to the side gently and here comes Scotty, or I don't know, but I did like Scotty in this episode though. He was running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to keep this thing working. And every time something bad would happen, he's like, "Oh crap!" And then he had to sneak over and talk to Uhura and be like, "Uhura." And I'm not going to do the accent because I'll butcher it, but like he's like, theoretically, if I had a communication problem with the holodeck, like how could I work around? In theory, how could I work around this? And she sees right through him, which I love. And then
Yeah.
she helps him work through the com issue where he ends up showing up as a character on the set of the last frontier
Yeah. Wasn't it with
show.
a commercial or something? Or
No, it was like behind the scenes where like they cut and then they showed like the crew and everything, and he was like some
oh
guy holding
yes.
the flashlight or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where's Palea? I don't know.
I was thinking the same thing, actually. The through the whole episode is where's Palea? And the
Yeah.
episode before I was thinking, where's Palea? And I
Okay.
think I'm sure there's like maybe, yeah, you're right, maybe conflicts with her schedule. But I think it would have added to it to have Palea in this episode, actually. I just,
Yes.
yeah. So to me, it was like Scotty, this kind of, if this was this important, like a testing forum to test this technology, I was like, they would want their chief engineer to be on the ship. And I think that would have added if she was there.
I envision it like Palea following him around the room as he's trying to keep the holodeck
Hmm.
together, like, basically, in her way, scolding him, but not scolding him, but kind of like pushing him and giving him grief and everything. It would have made for a really hilarious scenes because she did that when he was trying to build the device that helped draw in all the energy from the binary stars or
Yep.
whatever it was, where the Gorn homeworld is and that weird whole thing.
Yeah.
Um, that would have been hysterical.
Yeah.
Maybe she was off filming Scrooge too.
Scrooge too? What do you mean?
Oh, is that
She was the
okay?
ghost of Christmas Present in Scrooge too.
Oh,
It's a bad joke.
I
Oh,
okay. I was gonna say I never saw that. There's a Scrooge too. I've seen the first Scrooge,
No,
and it,
no, yeah, she was in the first one. That's I can't imagine Carol Kane's getting a lot of calls.
I don't know. She's still doing stuff, and she's a heck of a comedic actress. I mean,
Oh
she's done
yeah,
that her
don't
whole
get me
career.
wrong.
Yeah,
Yep.
she really is, and she was great as the mother of the Penguin in Gotham.
Oh,
In
I
that series,
love
if you
that.
ever saw that
I
series, oh
love
my,
that.
that series is so good, and she was
And,
really good in that series.
and speaking about that, as a Batman connoisseur, I never liked like Gotham or any of that because it took me out of the elements because I know the background of the characters and
Wait, you
seeing,
didn't like the Gotham series?
I did not like the Gotham
Oh, I
series.
loved it. I thought it was because it was all about everything but Batman, and that's what I liked. I liked seeing
And
all
I'm
the world of
fine with
Gotham.
that without Batman being there, but knowing the background of the characters, I didn't like it. You could have been more closer to the comic book than you were and still not include Batman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I have to disagree though. I
But
will say I will say your cousin, my wife, really liked that show as well. So they did something right because she's not into that crap, and yet she likes it. So I will just say it it was good. Okay, so let's talk, you guys. We must address the what's the right word? I don't want to say the elephant in the room, but
hmm
let's address the
Hard,
overabundance of tribbles in the room to make a Star Trek pun here about the La'an and Spock thing at the end of this episode
hmm
because I
yeah.
just saw it and I just was like, yikes.
hmm
I I'm biased maybe because I like Lon. She's my favorite character. I love Spock, but I just don't get it. They tried something with her and Kirk in that episode Tomorrow
hmm
and Tomorrow and Tomorrow from season 2, and I thought yuck as well because he's for lack of better terms, Kirk's kind of a womanizer. I mean, we all know that from TOS. The character kissed every friggin' female alien he ever saw practically and then some. And so I was like that can't work, and thankfully it didn't. And the thing with her and Spock, like Chris, you mentioned you brought this whole idea in my mind with this idea of them kind of be having like a sibling type of relationship.
hmm
Now all of a sudden they're kissing. I'm like, well, that went 0 to 100 quick.
hmm Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts, Chris? What do you think about this thing? This again, I'm gonna call it
I'm
this pile of tribbles.
yeah, I'm nervous about it, like on how it goes, right? I think um the personalities of both Spock and Leon lend themselves to yes, they could be like in a romantic relationship, but also I felt that after what I also felt that yeah, they're also more they could totally be siblings, right? So um and after what happened with Chapel, I feel like, oh, is it? And I understand it's like 3 or 6 months in terms of the sh where they are, but it's like it's the next episode for us to
Yeah.
watching the show. So for the audience, I'm like, oh, is it so soon? Like for the audience to see this? Um, and and then I'm a little bit nervous that are they going to develop more of like now there's going to be a love triangle with Chapel and Spock and Leon and Dr. Corby, and then that becomes too much of a thing where it's kind of then they gotta that becomes a thing where they gotta spend time and kind of drama on, and will that be too overbearing? So I'm kind of I'm nervous about it. See how it goes. Those are my initial thoughts. Like curious. Yeah, Ken.
I, I'm of the same mind as Zach. I
Yeah.
just felt that it was out of place, and it's like, oh, this just doesn't seem right. It's almost like you said, it's almost like a little kid watching his parents kiss because it just didn't feel right. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's like when
And
Marty
and it,
kisses when his mother kisses Marty in Back to the Future, and she's
yep.
like, "It's like kissing my brother."
Or Luke kissing Leia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although at the time we didn't know that they were brother and sister.
Mhm.
It's weird. I don't know. That almost again tends me to believe this is going to end in heartbreak with Leon because she's forming all these bonds and everything else, and now we're going to cut those bonds.
Yeah, they're okay. So they're bringing out a softer side of Law, and now all of a sudden she's just falling for Spock. Like, come on, that's
Yep, I
and
agree.
she's falling for him. What? Because she taught him how to dance once. Like, that's the key to Law's heart is just go be her dance partner once, and all of a sudden she's got a thing for you. Like, come on, man.
Yep, I
I mean,
agree.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, to me it's more poetical if they end up like siblings. You know, Leon losing her brother, Spock's sister is like somewhere in the future, and it's just them filling that hole of losing a sibling. You know, for to me that's kind of like a more poetic kind of relationship that they can have.
Yep.
I agree. I agree. I am not a fan. I'm a fan of both the characters. I'm not a fan of them together, and I'm really not a fan of them kissing. And when you mentioned Chris, and I'm glad you framed it this way, this idea of a love triangle or some type of drama that they'd have to explore on the side. First of all,
Yeah.
I think you're wasting precious time because you only have 10 episodes a season. So why do we want to waste time exploring that garbage that nobody asked for, especially me? I didn't ask for it. Uh, and on top of that, uh, if we're going to start doing love triangle stuff in space, now you're becoming a space soap opera, which is what Star Wars literally was titled as by George Lucas. George Lucas says it's a space opera. He didn't have the word soap
Yep.
in there, but space opera, soap opera.
Hmm.
So why are we gonna do that? I mean, Star Wars had like the Luke Han Leia little mini triangle for a 2/10 of a second before Luke found out he kissed his sister.
Yep.
But I mean, other than that, like we don't. Nobody asked for this. No, nobody asked for this, and I don't think it's. I hope. Well, I don't think. I hope it's not going to last. I really don't. I think it's one of those like, hey, what was that about that kiss, Spock? Yeah, I had some human emotions when that, and I felt something. Well, we should keep it professional, Spock, because you know we are senior officers. Good idea, and they go their separate ways. Let's just do it that way,
Yep.
and that can just be a one-off thing, and then we'll just pretend that never happened, like Jadzia dying.
Ugh.
So let's pretend that never happened.
Wow. Tell
What
us how you really feel about that, Zach.
No, no, no. We'll be here. We'll be here for 5 days in this case, Ken. 5 days. And Chris has heard me rant enough about that on DS9. So
Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about when they were doing the last dance scene when Leon goes to Spock's quarters, and I thought, wouldn't it be clever if this was like the holodeck? But I realized like, well, it's not the holodeck because they wanted to unplug it, right? But it was holodeck and it was just wasn't real. It was just kind of an imaginary thing and it didn't actually happen where Leon and and uh and Spock were dancing. And I thought, okay, that would be okay. Like if she said, okay, computer end program, and then, you know, then Spock disappears and it goes back, then I could feel like, okay, it didn't really happen. This is just something that was being explored by like Leon's like imagination, and that'd been like
Yep.
a clever way to end it, right? Without saying, okay,
mm,
we're not really doing this, but this is like an exploration. I don't think it was, right? Because I think they had already unplugged the
Yeah.
holodeck and put it away. So
That
yeah,
would have been a nice tidy way to tie it up.
yeah.
That's kind of tongue twister.
that's actually a really good idea, Chris. I wish they would have done that.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done that. I just I don't. I don't really get it, honestly. Like I said, I don't know how you go from being dance partners once to
Heavy
this.
makeout session.
Yeah, like what? Like, okay, this doesn't make any sense to me, but all right. Yeah, no, I like your idea better.
Uh,
Much better.
there's got to be like some Starfleet regulations in place. These are senior officers, right? So
Yes, that's right, Chris. That's
Yes.
right.
right.
Yes. Yes. Let's dig into that one. Let's be like those fans on Galaxy Quest who go up there and talking about all the technical stuff. Let's go find the Starfleet regulation that doesn't actually exist because it's all fake. And let's quote that and let's make sure that the writers know there's the Starfleet regulation here.
At this point, doesn't
Yep.
HR have to get involved?
I well, but here's the thing though, Chris. Star Trek has a history of senior officers having things for each other and doing things with each other. Odo and Kira, Bashir chasing after Jadzia, Troy and
And
Riker,
Riker.
Worf and Troy, although we try to block that out of our minds as well. We've talked about that before, Chris. That didn't really happen. In fact, I was really hoping that after I watched this episode for the first time, that I would actually wake up from the nightmare of that scene at the end of the episode of Lon and Spock kissing. I was hoping that was in my nightmare,
Yeah.
but it was not because we're talking about it, and I think I'm not still dreaming. But otherwise this is a really long dream. But yeah, there's lots of times Belana Torres and Tom Paris. Another, it's like
Oh yeah, yeah.
every series had at least one set of senior officers. And you're right, Chris. Where the heck is HR when you need them?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Now it's time for an HR officer. Set things straight.
That's right. All right, guys. So in Enterprise, Dominic Keating, and I'll get to this in a second, Chris. Dominic Keating and Connor Trinneer mentioned that one of the most popular episodes of Shuttlepod or of Enterprise was the episode called Shuttlepod One, where it's just the two of them trapped in that shuttle, and they think they're going to die because Enterprise, and that's where they got the name the Shuttlepod Show that doesn't exist anymore, and they did a reading of that episode, which is amazing. That episode was supposed to be, and I don't remember the term that they used, Chris, if you recall what it was for that type of an episode where it's very low budget, there's not a lot to it. It's basically a filler episode because they don't have the budget to make some big fancy one, right? That would be an HR officer episode. An episode where we don't have any more money in the budget for the season, so we're gonna fill it with all the characters going to HR and talking about their feelings.
Yes.
Just a guy sitting at a desk filling out paperwork because of all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could you imagine on a Galaxy class starship how many things would be going on in a ship that size?
Yes.
Lots.
I imagine like a perfect HR officer being like someone who was the Ferengi inspector from
Brunt,
DS9?
Liquidator Brunt.
Yes, Liquidator Brunt.
Yeah.
That would be like a perfect style of an HR officer to come in, start
Chris,
investigating.
I'm telling you, there is some wavelength form that our brains are connected because no joke, last night as I was falling asleep to go to before work this morning, I watched a DS9 episode, shocker, I know, called Family Business, where Liquidator Brunt comes in and closes them down because Quark finds out that, and Rom do, that Moogie is earning profit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was a liquid. So the fact that you brought up Liquidator Brunt and I just watched that says something. Telling you, man.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine Riker in an HR meeting? No, it's not me that's doing it. It's my brother Tom. I got an identical brother. It's not me.
He did do it in the episode Defiant in DS9. I know I'm saying that again. Seriously, Thomas Riker comes and steals the Defiant to go fight against the Maquis. I mean, against the
I remember
Cardassians
that.
for the Maquis. Yeah, yeah. So his twin brother really did do it, and he faked being William Riker. So that's an excellent point you make.
Yeah. That's
sure.
excellent.
Okay, a couple of things as we wrap this episode up. First of all, at the end of the episode, did you guys know when they're doing like the blooper reel for the Last Frontier? Did you notice how Paul Wesley's character attempts to do a Riker maneuver over the chair and the chair breaks?
Yes. I did notice that. And I
Oh,
noticed when they were saying lean right, lean left, and they're leaning in the exact opposite that they're supposed to.
Yeah. Because that was a thing.
yeah.
That was a thing on set. Like they would have to get in sync and they'd have to have somebody help them choreograph the swaying when there's damage and stuff. So, I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know if it was Frakes' idea to actually have the Riker maneuver at the end in the bloopers or if it was one of the writers that did it or whatever. But that was so perfect because, of course, you'd have to have the Riker maneuver in an episode directed by Jonathan Frakes, right?
Yeah, that was cute.
Yep.
I enjoyed that.
It only would have made it better is when he swung his leg up. He goes, Riker.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Okay. Uh, the last question for me that I want to pose to the two of you, because I want to get your thoughts on this as we wrap up the episode. Um, I want to hear your final thoughts, just overall of this episode, A Space Adventure Hour, and I want not only your final thoughts, but I'd request that you guys answer this question for me. And this is not a leading question. It's purely I want to know your thoughts. The question is, Strange New Worlds has always pulled off risky episodes so far. Like we mentioned earlier, when we first started talking, that Strange New Worlds has been very successful with doing these kind of quote unquote riskier episodes. Could this be the first dud episode of Strange New Worlds, or has there been a dud before, or whatever? I want to get your final thoughts. Ken, we'll start with you, and then Chris, you can bring us home.
I didn't think it was a dud of an episode. I liked it. It was lighthearted, except for the holodeck issue on the Enterprise. I rather enjoyed the episode. You saw a little bit of character development, but it's one of those episodes that all the actors have said they like, where they can actually get out of playing their character while playing their character. And I think it really worked. And again, I think it was another risky episode that, for me, personal little things paid off. I liked it.
Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
that was
Chris,
great,
what about
Ken.
you, my friend?
Yeah, for me, it was a miss. For me
Okay,
personally. And so this is an episode that I enjoy watching and that I enjoy watching multiple times, and I'll go back and watch again. And so it is something I enjoy like as its own thing. But for me, like in the element where it's a part of this season, and it's a and it's a part of the overall arc of Strange New Worlds, I have trouble going, how does this fit in? Because it was so meta, because it was so self-aware, because it's like it's parroting and satiring Star Trek and the actors of Star Trek. I go, where does it fit in?
mm,
Something I enjoy watching for sure, and that I can go back and watch again and appreciate like all of the creativity and Easter eggs that are brought in by Jonathan Frakes and the actors themselves. But it's a miss when I go, how does this fit into Star Trek Strange New Worlds as a series and where they want to go? So yeah,
okay.
that is mine. And it's the first one. So that's what I felt. And I kind of felt that at the big that was my sense at the very beginning when I saw that kind of intro. Yeah, I'm curious, Zach, like, how are you feeling about it?
We're gonna put the end of the episode aside.
Yeah.
That aside, um, honestly, this is the first episode of Strange New Worlds where I'm on the fence. So I'm kind of in between both of you. I can't say that I fully liked the episode, but I can't say that it was a complete miss because there's enough elements about the episode that I enjoy in the frame of the holodeck style episodes, right? Like I would put because you can make different buckets for across the Star Trek franchise for episodes, right? And holodeck episodes are its own bucket. They're its own thing. They're so vastly different from pretty much the rest of Star Trek. And that's okay. It's nice to have a break. It's nice to have something fun, whether it's the Dixon Hill episodes, whether it's the Cupid, or whether it's Sherlock Holmes, or uh, the James Bond inspired Dr. Bashir, I presume, or Captain Proton, whatever, all those episodes. They're fun. I love going back and just watching them if I want something lighthearted to watch. They're great. I'm on the fence because and I kind of take from both sides of you. Whereas, like with Chris, with you, I don't know how this fits in other than the really, really relaxed, I guess, definition of, oh, well, they're testing a holodeck thing. Okay, well, why it's being tested, but then, like you said, Ken, we go 100 years without seeing it again? Like, if it was that good and it could help long distance, long term, travel and exploration, why would they take 100 years to get it back? And I know it's because we have two different shows and it's time periods and they're all just freaking TV shows at the end of the day, right? But yeah, I guess to answer your question, Chris, I'm really on the fence and I'm having a hard time which side I'm on,
Yeah.
honestly. I don't really know. I will say though, this was probably, and I love the fact it was focused on my favorite character, but this was probably my least favorite episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds so far. I really do. And of course, the ending certainly didn't help. I'll just say that right now. It
Yeah.
didn't help. But
But
that's kind of where I'm at.
honestly, but honestly, Zach, if you think about it, all the holodeck episodes, none of them were earth-shattering, made, determined things that were going on in the season. I can see what Chris is saying, but again, if you look at all the holodecks in its own bucket, they never did that.
True. That is true. However, my counter argument to that, Ken, would be that anytime we've gotten holodeck episodes in other series, you were getting 20 some episodes a season. Now you're getting 10. And so when you take one episode that's completely removed from the progression and forwarding of plot, although I would say the development of Lon's character stands out in this as a continual, right? That
Mhm.
this furthered Lon's character, not in the way I would have done it, but it furthered Lon's character in a certain direction. So I do think it did that. However, again, my counter argument to you would be when you have 20 some episodes a season times basically 7 seasons for most of the Star Trek series, not all of them, but a lot of them, you have the ability to have the one-offs that don't do anything other than just be whimsical. With a show like Strange New Worlds, where there's only 10 episodes a season, you don't have the luxury of not furthering the series as a whole by taking 1/10 of your season away, because 1/10 of your season in 26 episodes is almost 3 episodes. That's a lot. So in
Yeah.
this case, it's only 1 episode, but it's 1/10 of your season. So that's kind of, I don't know if that makes sense to either one of you, but that's kind of how I going, to your argument, Chris. I think that's how I would argue that.
This episode would work for me if it didn't use the last frontier like as its vehicle, like as
Oh
that
yeah.
background.
Just get rid of that completely.
Yeah, well, if they did something else, right?
Mm,
Because when they did the last frontier and they went into so much, it was it was starting to parody not only like I said it like before, but William Shatner, but also have commentary on Gene Roddenberry, like when that is when that happens, when that starts to happen, and they're spending a significant amount of time on that, then that's like there is no suspension of disbelief. It's enjoyable to watch, but you're like they're saying, "Oh, they're already acknowledging we're a show and we're not real. We're making fun of ourselves." And so that's where
yeah.
I go, how does it all fit in? And it doesn't work for me in the arc of Strange New Worlds. It would work for me if they just used if there was another device that they used but not Last Frontier and not making this kind of internal commentary that's speaking out to the audience. Right. So,
Chris, do you think it would have worked better if they had did something Dixon Hill-esque, where
mhm,
it's not necessarily a show, but it's a time period that they did things in?
absolutely. That would have worked for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
if you would have just gotten rid of the last frontier altogether and it was
Mhm,
just a murder mystery,
mhm. Ab-
then I think that's what you're getting at, right?
yeah, absolutely. Just
Yeah.
they could do that. Yeah. Where it
Yeah.
just got too meta for me,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or The Last Frontier was the holodeck thing, right? Where it was just
Hmm.
this show and they were all playing characters as part of like Captain Proton, right?
Hmm.
It's kind of
Yeah.
similar to that where they're just playing
Yeah,
characters on some
Yeah.
B sci-fi series from the 1960s. And that you then you could say, "Oh, well that's kind of like
Yeah.
TOS was looked at, right?"
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, there's a lot more to unpack here, I think, than people realize. There's a lot to this episode, a lot to discuss. Um, like I said, I'm on the fence. It's not that I hated the episode, although I hated the end. But it was my probably my least favorite, I think, of
Hmm.
the whole series so far. Now, the puppet episode could take that its place, or it may not. Maybe the puppet episode becomes one of my favorite. Who knows? We'll see. We'll find out. But Ken, thanks for jumping on with us, man.
Yeah,
This was
man, this is
awesome.
awesome.
We had
Thanks. I
a
appreciate it. I
yeah, we
really
had a
had a good
blast.
time doing this.
Yeah, this was great. And I mean, we talk, every so often and definitely get into some good discussions about science fiction and Star Trek. And so, I look forward to more of those and we'll have to have you back on again sometime because this was a lot of fun
Mhm.
and hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, Chris, this is the last. So this at the time of this recording, it's Sunday,
Mhm.
August 3rd, and I'm headed to Vegas on Thursday for the Star Trek convention.
There you
Ken,
are,
we've
man.
got to get you out to Vegas for the Star Trek convention.
Yeah, I would really love to check it out. The only time I've been to an actual Star Trek convention, I believe I told you, was when they did a creation in Boston. And
Yes.
William Shatner came in his giant hat and his giant sunglasses to pretend that nobody knew who he was. And he's got 8 people surrounding him, and they shuttle him off to the elevator, and he goes upstairs like, come on, really?
Yeah. He doesn't do that anymore. He goes around on a little electric scooter
Scooter.
thing now. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I will say, like, this is nothing against Shatner, but he's gotten to the point now where he's starting age is catching up to him.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I just is. I mean, he doesn't get around as much as well as he used to. He still gets around. The dude is amazing. The energy is incredible. But anyways, yeah. And then Chris, I'm hoping sometime again soon you'll be able to go. I don't think I'm going
As am
next
I.
year.
Yeah.
I think next year I'm taking my son to the National Sports Card Convention in Chicago.
Okay.
It was in Chicago again this year. I don't know that I'm going to go next year because that trip's going to be very pricey. But we have to figure out a time for both of you to get out to the Star Trek convention again, or for you again, Chris, and
Yeah.
Ken for you for the first time in Vegas. And
Yeah.
hopefully we can make it happen where I can also be there at the same time because that'd be awesome. And likewise, Chris, we got to make it happen.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
So
be.
for sure. But yeah, so I'm headed to Vegas Thursday. I'll be at the Star Trek convention Friday and Saturday, and I'll be coming home Sunday. So for those of you watching and listening all over the globe and the interwebs, if you're going to be there, be on the lookout for our Random Redshirt podcast t-shirt. I'll probably be wearing that. Well, I don't know if I'm going to wear it Friday or Saturday. One of the days I'll be wearing it. So be on the lookout for that. Stop and say hi. I'll give you one of our cards. And we always love to meet people who've watched or listened to the podcast. It's always a great time. We run into people like you did, Chris, that one random time. I
It's
think, was it
wonderful.
at a thrift
It's
store or something
magical.
in,
Yeah, it
in
was.
Eastern Washington or something like that?
Yes, it was. It was at
Yeah.
yeah, a used store. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the last time I was in Vegas, I had somebody who came up to me who listened and watched our podcast as well. And so it's awesome, getting a chance to meet people who are tuning in. We very much appreciate that. And again, go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Threads. If you're listening to us on the audio side, you can find a video version of this episode and many others on our YouTube channel. So be sure to go there and like and subscribe and do all that social media jazz. So we hope you enjoyed this episode number 4. And then when I come back from Vegas, Chris, we'll have another Strange New Worlds episode to talk about. It'll be great.
It's going to be wonderful to talk about that and to hear about your adventure in Las Vegas at the Star Trek convention. We want to hear all about it.
I'm hoping there's no adventure and it's very mundane in the sense that there's nothing crazy that happens because adventures usually involve crazy things happening and it's
Mhm.
Vegas. I don't want nothing bad happening. So I hope it's very normal.
Yeah.
Yes. But yes, I will be happy to share that. Look forward to doing this again. I don't know, maybe Sunday evening or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll take a look at our schedules and see what makes the most sense. But again, Ken, thanks so much for jumping on. It was awesome. We'll chat.
Yeah, good discussion.
Yeah, we'll chat again soon, and hopefully we'll have you back on at some point.
Absolutely. I'd love it.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. We'll take care, everybody. Thanks as always for watching and listening, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Random Redshirt Podcast.